here I stand, shaggy-haired, in an empty great hall. What on earth has happened? My PA, the wise Sarah Lappage, said to me recently that if you had told her on New Year's Eve that 4 months later she would be standing on a line outside Tesco, waiting for the man 2 meters in front to step off his line before she could move forward to take his place, she would say that you were barking mad. If you'd given me the cryptic clue on New Year's Eve that I would be running a school with no children on site, I wouldn't have had any idea what you were talking about. If you had said that I'd start a management team meeting with the words, "What did you think of the virtual concert on Sunday afternoon?" Or start term, not by speaking to the boys at assembly in the Great Hall about the term ahead, but by speaking to the press in the Great Hall about 150,000 birthday cards. Well, you get the message. This has been the most bizarre of periods. Yet amongst the strangeness, there has been a reassuring Bedford school take on it all. In 1979, when the school burnt down, not a lesson was missed. So was the story when the government forced closure upon us one Friday afternoon back in March. Admittedly, a quick training course replaced lessons on Saturday morning, but by Monday morning, first period, there we all were, back in lessons and carrying on as normal. To add to the Bedford School consistency in his own way, our current director of the Bedford School Association, Hugh Maltby, managed to be here for both events, having attended as a boy in the late 1970s. I'm not quite sure what sort of accolade that is, Hugh, but we'll be watching your next moves particularly carefully. On one of the first days back this term, all 410 prep school boys were registered present and on time for period 1, a feat which had surely never happened before in real life. And so, to cap it all, we now set out on our first ever virtual speech day. No doubt the best attended yet, unencumbered by the size of the hall, nor indeed restricted by timings. And I hope that you'll enjoy it. We'll have the usual thank yous and well dones, but instead of a single guest speaker this year, we'll welcome a series of OBs back to give out particular prizes which have meant something to them. And you'll be meeting them after the head of school and I have spoken. But to start with, I ask you to cast your mind back to a previous world and a lovely review of the year which has been put together by Mark Lewis and the team in our marketing office. Welcome to Speech Day 2020. There are headmasters I know who write their speech day speech on the eve of speech day itself. I have never envied them. I do enjoy a bit of last-minute panic from time to time. It focuses the mind, if nothing else. And after all, I too was a boy in an independent school once upon a time, and they seem to breed that sort of response to deadlines. This year, however, there's something to be said for the last-minute approach. Every day seems to bring a new challenge or a change of tack. Even 24 hours seems quite a long time sometimes. Lenin was supposed to have said that there are decades where nothing happens and there are weeks where decades happen. And that has never been more true, I suspect, in our lifetime. So it is with some trepidation that I start out on a speech which was written at half term. Just 5 calendar weeks, yet almost 3 normal years ago. It was exactly 80 years on from the week of the Dunkirk evacuation, and I had just been watching yet another lockdown film, The Darkest Hour, which describes those days of frightening decision-making for Winston Churchill that led to the extraordinary fleet of private vessels heading out across the Channel to rescue 300,000 stranded troops from their near-certain doom. Suddenly, being a headmaster in a pandemic was a breeze, a cakewalk, simplicity itself. We'd only just celebrated the 75th anniversary of VE Day, an outpouring of relief and joy at the war in Europe being over after almost 6 long years. Yet it's worth remembering that even that day was tinged with all sorts of emotion. Captain Tom Moore, who gave us all at Bedford such joy in April, reflected that he could not rejoice much because his mates were all still fighting out in the east. And it's worth remembering too that if you'd been born in 1900, you're very likely to have fought in both world wars, with the Great Depression in between the two, thrown in for good measure. But what that period in April and May did do, whilst we were on lockdown and reflecting on those events of 7 or 8 decades ago, was to force reflection upon the very nature of liberty and freedom as something worth having. We've gone through no war in these last few months, thank goodness. In fact, in some ways, this shared experience has led to connections growing stronger. But we have, to one extent or another, had our physical freedom impinged upon, and this has, on occasion, forced introspection. 2 short personal reflections spring to mind. I once sat next to Terry Waite at lunch, a Church of England envoy and hostage negotiator, who was taken hostage himself in Beirut in the 1980s and was chained and beaten in solitary confinement for months on end upon threat of death. He was in captivity for 4 years before finally being freed in 1991. But throughout it all, he managed to maintain an unbroken mind. When recently asked how he did it, he said that in spite of being poor at maths as a schoolboy, he worked on maths puzzles in his head. He composed and memorized poetry and recited the Psalms, relishing the rhythms and language. Good language, he said, like good music, has the ability to breathe harmony into the soul. At another time, I heard an amazing talk from a man called Tom Hartdyke, who had a real fascination for orchids, to such an extent that it led him on a solo world tour of orchid hunting. With only a few weeks left on his trip, he was persuaded by a rock climber he met in a bar to enter the Dorian Gap between Panama and Colombia, a notoriously dangerous passage, on the grounds that it had great rocks for the rock climber and great orchids for Tom. They were kidnapped, and they spent 9 months in captivity, mostly at gunpoint. One evening, his captors, realizing that they were not getting far in their ransom demands, told Tom that they would kill him in the morning and asked him to request his final meal. "What would you do on your last night alive?" asked Tom in his lecture. Well, that night, Tom sat up all night finishing off his design for his dream garden, something he had been planning whilst keeping his mind balanced and active in captivity. It was his intention to hide the plan in case anybody ever found it after his death. The following morning, breakfast came and nobody mentioned execution. When he was set free after 9 months, he went home and he created that garden at his family home in Kent, where it's now open to the public. What joins these two stories is that physical freedom can be taken away, but mental freedom can still survive. Both of these men had fallen back on their education, their innate curiosities, their passions, to keep them going in times of extreme challenge. And to those of you who leave Bedford today, in the strangest of circumstances, I want you to know that your education so far and your continuing education sets you free. Education ultimately gives you the freedom to be imaginative, to be creative, and to express yourself. But first you need the tools to be able to do so, and the opportunity to be able to use those tools. Good education is not oppressive. It doesn't tell you what to think, but it does give you guidance, examples, access to the great thinkers of the past and the great discoveries of the present. It liberates you. Equally important is that education gives you choice. There are 260 million children in this world who do not get any schooling at all. And 3 times that many, about a third of the children in the world, are unable to reach minimum proficiency levels in reading and maths. You boys have joined a school which belongs, according to the PISA rankings, amongst the very best in the world. You have been given the gift of freedom and the gift of choice. You simply must make the most of that. So I'm going to hand over now to a young man who has made the very most of his time here and who has rounded off his time by being an outstanding head of school, full of humanity, good humour, compassion, intelligence and kindness. He is Dan Smith.
I hope you're all well and staying safe. This is obviously not how I had imagined this day would go, nor how I thought my and the rest of the Upper Sixth time at Bedford School would come to a close. Whilst we may not have been able to experience events such as our final speech day or leavers ball, perhaps we will come up in a pub quiz one day, as the only year group to have left Bedford School without sitting any A-level or IB exams. Speech day is a day of celebration, when we come together as a community to congratulate others on their successes and hard work, but also a day to say thanks to the other boys, teachers, staff, governors and parents. Whilst we may not be able to gather as a school, in a physical sense at least, I think that coming together as a community is more important now than ever. I found it quite difficult writing this speech, knowing that I'll be recording it in an empty hall and that everyone will be listening from their own homes, rather than all of us being in the Great Hall together. I will tell you now, though, that I won't be attempting any Scottish accent impressions, as Will Barnes did last year, partly as I think my attempt would be even worse than Will's, but also because I think it would feel rather strange, stood in an empty room talking to a camera in a Scottish accent. So I'll stick to my English accent to reflect on my time at Bedford, say thanks, and leave a few final thoughts and words of advice. I'd like to start by saying thank you to the Upper Sixth, with whom I've shared my time here. Some I've known for 11 years, some for only a couple. However, the fact that you would find it extremely difficult to distinguish between the survivors who've been here since year 3 and those who joined for sixth form shows how well our year group has bonded. This welcoming spirit is what, in my completely unbiased opinion, makes us one of the finest year groups to have come through the school in recent years. I don't know if you've seen the videos from the last day, before schools closed for several weeks, but the socially distanced singing of hymns inside and outside the chapel, along with some iconic chanting led by the infamous George Thomas, was spine-tingling. The unity of all the boys and teachers, not to mention the evident pride in being part of Bedford School, shows what it means to be part of this community and has played a large role in making my time here so enjoyable. So to the upper sixth, I wish you all the very best in whatever you decide to do next. Of course, thanks must go to our teachers too, particularly for adapting so quickly to online lessons. From what I've seen, teaching is all about being engaging, being as passionate about your subject as Mr. Grimshaw is about his bees, and being as creative in your teaching methods as Mr. Waterhouse, who once ended up showing us high-tech fridges that order more of items you're low on and have see-through doors in an economics lesson. How he managed to link this back to the price elasticity of demand topic that we were studying, I can't quite remember, but he always found a way. We must thank all the other staff too, who are critical to the smooth functioning of the school, be it the ground staff, porters, catering staff, or Sue and Beryl in the school shop. And the final thank you is to the unsung heroes that often go overlooked, but take the brunt of our frustrations, support us, and often act as taxis to and from school. So on behalf of all the boys, I'd like to thank the parents, guardians, siblings, and other relatives who are as much a part of the school community as us boys. To you boys who are fortunate enough to still have some time left at school, I encourage you to get involved as much as possible. Don't do things tomorrow or next week, but do them today. As I've found out, in rather dramatic fashion, you really don't know when your time at Bedford may come to an end. I'm lucky in that I didn't have many things left that I wanted to do or achieve, but you'll certainly find that you'll miss school life, even if you're excited about what lies beyond, as I am. I hope, as I'm sure you do, that no more school careers are cut short by similar circumstances. But acting today instead of tomorrow is still a good philosophy to live by if you want to make the most of your time. Don't wait to join societies, enter competitions, or start something new. You'll be surprised how far a get-up-and-go attitude can take you. However unexpectedly events unfold, the friends and memories you make at Bedford will stay with you for a long time, as will what you've learnt from the amazing staff, putting you in the best possible position to face and enjoy the future. I wish you all a restful, healthy summer.
Thank you very much, Dan. That was a lovely speech. And you've been an absolutely brilliant head of school this year. I know that the boys of the school, the staff at the school, and I particularly will miss you and your wise counsel and the way that you have led from the front this year. You've been absolutely terrific. We'll miss you next year and wish you well as you go on to great things after Bedford School. For now, we've got a little formality which has become a tradition. The president of the OB Club, David Murray, is going to award a tie to you, Dan, and this is symbolic of a handover of your whole year group from school into the OB Club, and a welcoming to the OB Club and a fantastic network of 9,000 people who you will hopefully grow to know, many of whom you'll grow to know over the coming years, and hopefully will help you maintain your friendships throughout your life. So over to David.
Daniel, welcome to the Old Bedfordians Club. To you and to all your fellow 2020 Bedford School leavers.
Thank you, David. On behalf of all of this year's leavers, we look forward to joining the OB Club.
Before the prizes, I have a few words of thank you. My first set of thanks goes to the staff who leave us this year. Natalie Teckle-Meller moves to Castle Newnham School after 10 years in the maths department and having spent 20 years in the Harper Trust. In her time here, she has stood in as acting head of maths, led on staff induction, worked on adventure training and shooting in the CCF, and taken endless Duke of Edinburgh trips. Throughout it all, she's been a fine and dependable maths teacher of all year groups and ability ranges, and we wish her well for her next challenge. Andrew Groom leaves us after 4 years to become head of prep school music at Kimbolton School. Andrew is simply a force of nature, an amazing musician who can and does try his hand at almost any instrument you can name, and in fact, some that you can't. He's thrown himself into school with energy and fun. My own highlights include his sparklingly funny and musically brilliant operettas in the prep school, his rebranding of the Year 3 Recorder Club as the Karate Club, and his recent virtual concert compared from a windy golf course with animated sheep flying past behind his head. But in truth, you'll all have your own favourites. There are loads to choose from. We'll really miss Andrew, but I know that he will continue to bring joy to many young musicians not too far away. Jessica Waheed leaves after 4 years, during which she progressed from her appointment as German teacher to head of her preferred language, French. She was dogged in her determination to improve languages at the school and a strong practitioner in the classroom. Steve Bull joined the maths department 2 years ago from university teaching in the US and now returns there for a church role. He threw himself into the department, into boarding and into sport, and made a fine impression on all he came into contact with, and we wish him well back in America. Chris Bramald leaves after a year as Assistant Director of Music to go back to his own music making, and Alan Bates, having joined as Head of Physics last year, transfers to Haileybury for his own family reasons. Both will be missed. And a quick mention, if I may, for Rob Heel, who hangs up his register after 19 years as a boarding housemaster. It is remarkable that he and his wonderful wife, Sian, are still standing, let alone smiling. There are 4 significant support staff leavers whom I'd like to mention. We say goodbye to 2 bursars, which seems rather careless. Stuart Holliday came from Perth with his wife 2.5 years ago. His cheerful positivity and can-do attitude was much loved, and all were sad when he returned home for family reasons and perhaps the blue sky and the beach back in February. The vastly experienced Jeremy Tomlinson joined us as an interim bursar just in time for COVID-19. His bad luck has been our good fortune, and we are grateful to him for all he has done for us at such a difficult time. He will relinquish his interim position when our new bursar arrives in August. Bill Rossiter, our lead counsellor, retires after 29 years at the school. His has been a remarkable tenure, and he has helped the school, boys, staff and parents through a number of extremely difficult situations in that time, as well as providing strong behind-the-scenes confidential weekly support to the existing pastoral system. He will be greatly missed, and we wish him well. Leslie Harrison retires as librarian, but happily will not be missed because she stays as archivist. However, I did want to mention that she's been a wonderful librarian in her time with us, and she hands on a vibrant offering to her successor, well embedded into the very fabric of the school. Thank you to all of them. The governors have had their work cut out for them this year, there's no doubt about that, and what a remarkable set of people we are lucky enough to have. They've been endlessly supportive whilst maintaining entirely appropriate, careful scrutiny and generously sharing in their collective wisdom throughout. Many do not see what they do entirely voluntarily behind the scenes, but the school, whether all realise it or not, is hugely in their debt. Thank you so much to Sir Clive Loader and his team. To you, parents, I extend particular thanks this year. We all know how difficult things have been for you, and we continue to be grateful for your support of the school through thick and, in this case, thin. But you have also, in your own wonderful ways, reciprocated that care towards us as teachers and support staff, showing kindness, forgiveness, and appreciation when it was most needed. There is an African proverb which says that it takes a village to raise a child, and we have felt a very strong sense of village this term. And finally, to the boys who leave today, thank you for all you have brought to the school. Every single one of you has contributed to the school in your own unique way. You are all special, and I wish you well as you head off to other things. Don't look back, but do stay in touch. Be responsible with your freedom and make wise choices. Good luck. And now to the main event, And I'm going to hand over to Mr. Baldock, Deputy Head Academic, to announce the prizes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to announce this year's prize winners. I would normally be inviting boys up onto this stage to receive their prize from a guest of honour. This year, instead, where possible, you'll see that a number of the awards will be presented by someone connected to that prize. The Grevelink Memorial Exhibition for Science goes to Ben Giles. The H.S. Aldred Memorial Prize for Science Projects, Matthew Lewis. The Physical Science A-Level Prize, Sean Peng. The K. Revis Prize for the Best Physics Investigation, Leon Ju. The Tanner Memorial Prizes for Physics, James Moffat, and Chemistry, George Ashcroft. The Eric Robinson Memorial Prize for Chemistry, Lucas Inman. The Rollinson Scholarship for Science, Sam Evans. And the Talalay Science Prize, Max Sogan.
Hi Max, my name is Michael Talalay. On behalf of the Talalay family, and in particular my two uncles Leon and Paul, both of whom were graduates of Bedford School, I take great pleasure in awarding you the Talalay Science Prize for 2020. My wife and I came to the school to see the presentations of all 6 finalists. They were all excellent, and yours in particular on the electron wave function was outstanding. Congratulations and best wishes for the future.
The Radcliffe Hall Prizes for Biology are awarded to Lucas Inman and Alex Aylan. The Henry Farrer Memorial Prize for Mathematics, Flick Feng. The W.H. Allen Engineering Exhibition, Max Sogan. The Fuller Memorial Prize for Mathematics, Chenxi Jiang. The Malcolm Wilson Prize for Mathematics, Daniel Smith. The Arthur Jones Prizes for Computer Technology to Matthew Lewis and Oscar Calvert. And the Headmaster's Arts Prize, Peter Barrington.
Peter, congratulations on this win. I understand you've been an exemplary student. You've hit these heights really very early in your career. It took me over 50 years to be awarded an art prize by Bedford School. I thought I'd add to your celebrations by offering you a signed copy of my History of Modern Art book, which is the American edition, and hopefully that'll be useful for your future studies.
The Phillips Sargent Prizes for Spoken English are awarded to Jamie Williams and David Adeyemi-Aberi. The Delanoy Prize for Literary Analysis, Benjamin Sporton. The F.P.D. Hurst Memorial Prize for English, Alex Yankov. The Stileman English Prize, Oluwajoba Thomas. And the Fowles Prize for English Essay, Nathaniel Otley. The Archie Wellbeloved Prize, Toby Lestrange. The New College Prizes for Classics, Will Ashcroft and George Ashcroft. The J. Marsh Prize for Classics, Ben Aylan. And the William James Burr Memorial Prize for History, Emmanuel Adeyemi-Aberi.
Hello there, Al Murray here, Old Bedfordian, 1977 to 1986. I think it's a long time ago, I don't really remember. In fact, it's so long ago, it's history, which brings us via a neat link to our next prize, the William James Burr Memorial Prize for History for the best student, senior student at Bedford School in History. Now, here's the thing, I think I won this, or something like this, back in 1986. So, honestly, the sky's the limit for the winner. And at Speech Day in 1986, I had to deliver a speech, and I said these words to do with history. History is written by the winners, so get out there and write some history. Oh, corny, but it did the trick on the day. And our winner, and I'm delighted to say this, our winner of the William James Burr Memorial Prize for History is Emmanuel Adeyemi-Aberi. Congratulations, leaving us from the upper sixth this year. Good luck in the world out there. I mean, we're living in a history book right now, So, students of history, you're the people we need right this minute. Congratulations, Emmanuel, and well done. Bye.
The Harvey Goldsmith Prize for History, Krish Nair. The David Stanbridge History Prize, Alex Hall. The Geoffrey Inskip Geography Prizes to Ed Blytheman and Oscar Terry. The School Prize for Economics, Ewan Gordon. The School Prize for Business Studies, Ronan McKay. The School Prize for Politics, Alex Wilkins. The Lower Sixth Modern Languages Essay Prize, Hasnain Zaidi. And the Argentine OB Prizes for Spanish, Michael Catt and Nikolai Sorokin.
Nikolai. Slightly scarily, I discovered that it was 39 years ago when I proudly stepped up to receive the prize that is now my great pleasure to award virtually to you, the Argentine OB Junior Spanish Prize. Spanish opens the door to a vast and marvellous array of cultures and wonder that is the Hispanic world, and one of my highlights was getting to know some of the Argentine Old Bedfordians when I was living in Buenos Aires, in particular Maurice Rumbold, a delightful and brilliant ornithologist. It's great that legacy lives on. Nikolai Sorokin, enhorabuena, and I hope you go on to enjoy the world of Spanish as much as I have.
The Page Prize for French, Daniel Smith. The Lejeune Prize for French, Luca Moretto. The Irving French Prize, Alex Aylan. The F.J. Harrison Prize for German, Daniel Hutchins. The Heald Prize for German, Oscar Hudson and James Cutler. The R. Baker Prize for German, Simon Bessel. And the John Hext Prize for Mandarin Chinese, Kazuza Arai.
Arai-san, congratulations on winning the John Hext Mandarin Prize. From here in Hong Kong, we see a lot of opportunities for Hong Kong and for China. So plenty of opportunities for a bright, talented young man like you. Many congratulations.
The School Prize for Enthusiasm and Commitment to Chinese, Ben Sudborough. English as a Second Language Prize, Anthony Muffaletto. The School Prize for Music Senior, Flick Feng, and Junior, James Watson. The Tagore Prize for Piano Playing, Flick Feng. The Crossman Prize for Brass Playing, George Balfour. The W.A.L. Osborne Memorial Prize for Singing, Jack O'Donovan. The Godber Prize for Organ Playing, George Balfour. And the Beatrice Langley Prize for String Playing, James Watson.
Hello, I'm Andrew Manzi, an Old Bedfordian musician, and I'm here to congratulate the winner of this year's Beatrice Langley Prize for String Playing, James Watson. James, I gather you won the prize for your double bass playing and that you're also a talented keyboard player, so good luck with all your music making. There aren't so many concerts at the moment in public, but I hope it's not long before we can hear you and all your school colleagues performing again. Congratulations, James.
The Barford Prize for Woodwind Playing, Philip Liu. The Percussion Prize, Joshua Jagannathan. The Amos Prize for Solo Playing and Commitment to School Music, Flick Feng. The School Prize for Music Technology, Peter Barrington. The Drama Prize for Acting, Jamie Williams. The Drama Prize for Services to Stage Crew, George Wegner. And the James Ritchie Memorial Prize for the Performing Arts, Dylan Swain.
Hello, I'm Simon Chandler. I've always been aware of how lucky I was to have been a pupil at Bedford School. Music and acting were always regarded as an important part of life, and I was encouraged to follow my dreams and become an actor. And I'm fortunate that I'm working still, although things are a little quiet at the moment. Therefore, it is with great pleasure that I announce the award of the James Ritchie Memorial Prize for the Performing Arts to Dylan Swain. Congratulations, Dylan, I gather you're president of the Drama Society. I'm sorry I never saw you in anything at the school, and in particular your Seymour in the Little Shop of Horrors. Anyway, I hope that one day we will get to work together in the not too distant future. Well done, and good luck.
The Frank Wilson Technology Prizes are awarded to Oliver Dwight and Monty Williams. The Milne Prize for Graphics to Freddie Peacock. The Mike Carpenter Award for Design and Technology, Kieran Kilbane. The William James Burr Memorial Prizes for Art to Benedict Xiao and Charlie McCutcheon. The Fanshawe Divinity Prize, William Watson, and the School Prize for Religious Studies, Ben Barnes. The Norris Prizes for outstanding GCSE results are awarded to Alex Christie, Samuel Dix, Henry Faulkner, Daniel Lumley Wood, James Norris, Antonio Reale, Alfred Wilcox, and George Winder. The John H. Buck Prize for consistent efforts, Blake Swift, and the Bill Sohal Prize for aspiration, Jamie Williams.
Hi, it's Bikram Sohal here. I just wanted to say it's a great pleasure to be able to virtually present Jamie Williams with the Bill Sohal Prize for Aspiration, and to congratulate you, Jamie, on all that you've done this year and throughout your time at the school. I understand you're an extremely talented young actor and writer, and so hopefully you'll be able to forgive and maybe even appreciate my imitation of Tom Hanks in Castaway. I wish you all the very best for the future, and look forward to hearing more about you in the years to come. All the best and well done, Jamie.
The Joe Spur Prize, Freddie Stock. The IB Diploma Prize for Creativity, Action and Service, William Watson. And the IB Diploma Prize for Theory of Knowledge, Will Cochrane. The IB Diploma Prize for Extended Essay Arts, Moritz Stahl, and IB Diploma Prize for Extended Essay Science, Leon G. The Bedford School Independent Project Prize, Rowan Spong, and the Chalice Prize, James Watson. The Tristram Yard Prize, Henry Poppleton. The Headmaster Prize for Social Entrepreneurship to Benji Ingram Moore, William Watson, and Robert Parish. The Bowl of Benevolence, Joseph Young. The School Prize for Services to Boarding, Sean Peng. The McCarthy Ray Memorial Prize, James Brazil. The P.K. Bourne Award for Best CCF Recruit, Jack Aldridge. The School Prize for Services to the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme, Joshua Lyon. And the Guy Fletcher Prize for Sportsmanship and Dedication, Ed Blytheman.
Hello, Bedford School, Martin Bayfield here. A great pleasure to be asked to be involved in your virtual speech day. So hello to teachers, support staff, parents, guardians, and of course to the pupils who are watching this still in your pyjamas with Call of Duty on pause, one of the great luxuries of not actually having to attend the day. But this is an opportunity to celebrate everything that has been achieved this year, and my great pleasure is to be asked to award the Guy Fletcher Prize for Sportsmanship and Dedication to a sixth former who absolutely embodies everything that is good about Bedford School. And to receive this award in the name of Guy Fletcher, someone who cajoled, encouraged, supported countless children through his time at the school, is a great, great privilege. So the recipient of this award is Ed Blytheman. Ed, many, many congratulations.
The Barlen Leaving Exhibition for History, Harry MacPhail. The Cap Tarbert Memorial Prizes, Ben Sheriff, Ben Giles, Edric Young, Bryn Williamson, and Michael Phillips. The Elgar Leaving Exhibitions to Will Ashcroft, Oliver Burridge Dean, Joe Fordham, Ewan Gordon, Oscar Hill, Lucas Inman and Matthew Lewis, and the Young Prize for Head of the School to Daniel Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baldock, and indeed for all you've done in your role as Academic Deputy this year. So I come to the announcement of next year's Senior 4. They are as follows. The senior monitors will be Alfie Wilcox and Divine Edjajovo. The Deputy Head of School will be Ben Barnes, and the Head of School will be Andy Wong. So very many congratulations to all 4 of you, and I wish you well as you take on your office in September. So to end today's event, we hand over to you all, the departing Upper Sixth. This school loves to sing, and you boys have carried on the tradition of the Upper Sixth leading the way this year. And what better way to bow out than to Jerusalem? Over to you, boys, until we meet again.